following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFangy coming to what will hopefully be a successful review, and tonight we're going to be taking a look at a Transformers figure that I am super excited to finally have in my Transformers collection. I honestly thought I was never going to have this Transformers figure. I thought I was never going to get a hold of it due to how rare and hard to find this figure is, and a few weeks ago on eBay, when I finally looked and noticed that someone was selling it at a price I could afford, I decided this was going to be probably my only chance at getting this figure. So, as the title of the video has shown, I have managed to finally add to my Transformers collection one of the most sought-after Transformers figures of the War for Cybertron Trilogy. It is the Transformers Walmart exclusive War for Cybertron Trilogy Voyager class Netflix Soundwave. So yes, I finally have Netflix Soundwave in my Transformers collection. Out of all the figures that were released in the Netflix line, Soundwave is arguably the most sought after of all the Transformers Netflix figures. Soundwave is right up there with Legacy Cosmos in being one of the top most sought after Walmart exclusive Transformers action figures that's been released. He's not alone. Soundwave does come with two of his partners. He comes with Laserbeak and Ravage, and the thing that makes Netflix Soundwave unique is that technically, unofficially, he is also known as Transformers Earthrise Soundwave, because this figure is a retool of the War for Cybertron Trilogy Siege Soundwave figure, which recently was re-released in the Transformers Legacy line with all the battle-damaged markings that the Siege figure had removed. And Netflix Soundwave is Soundwave with his Earth-based vehicle mode of a cassette player. Ravage and Laserbeak have been retooled to look like they do after they arrive on planet Earth, where they have more faces and head sculpts that look more like animals. Laserbeak's face looks more like a bird of prey, while Ravage looks more like a big cat. And also the paint jobs on Laserbeak and Ravage, when they're in their cassette modes, they have paint jobs that slightly match up more with their Generation 1 cassettes as compared to the Siege figures, which had original paint jobs that were, I believe, based on the Transformers comic books. And yes, I'm really thrilled to finally have Netflix Soundwave here in my collection. Infamously, Netflix Soundwave is one of the Transformers figures where the parts of him that have articulated joints that help him with his transformation, they're made out of a shade of gray plastic that has been turning brown on a lot of Transformers action figures. And unfortunately, Netflix Soundwave, even though he's still in the box, I can see with my own eyes my camera isn't picking it up right now while he's still in his packaging, but Netflix Soundwave, he has yellowed inside the box. His his elbow joints and his knee joints, the upper part of his thighs, those gray parts on him are now a murky brownish gray plastic. It's really hard to tell, but actually look right there on the elbow joint. You can kind of see how the browning plastic is made it a darker shade than the lower area of Soundwave's arms. So it is disappointing that Netflix Soundwave, for as rare and sought after a Transformers figure he is, that he's one of the Transformers figures that is suffering the browning effect, as I'm calling it. But yeah, it's a shame that his parts are yellowing. So that but despite that, and I'm still glad to have him in my collection. The figure has recently been repainted into the Transformers Shattered Glass version of Soundwave. It has one new head sculpt. One new part where the head sculpt is different. Shattered Glass Soundwave has a headband around his helmet. So it is. A lot of Transformers fans and collectors, when it was announced that the Voyager class Soundwave figure being released in the Legacy line was going to be a re-release, a lot of Transformers fans were hoping it was going to be Netflix Soundwave being released in Legacy and not a re-release of the Siege Soundwave figure. And for Transformers fans and collectors who missed out on Netflix Soundwave, it was a low blow when Hasbro and Takara Tomy announced that it would be Siege Soundwave being re-released in the Legacy line. Apparently, it's rumored right now, one of the reasons why Netflix Soundwave hasn't been re-released is because the contract Hasbro worked out with Walmart when the Netflix figure was released back in 2020. And it was that a certain time would have to pass before Hasbro could release the mold a second time somewhere else. else. Whether or not that's true for Soundwave is uncertain because the Netflix Bumblebee figure was repainted into a gold bug 6 months ago during the summer of 2022, when it was released in the Buzzworthy Bumblebee Creatures Collide 4-pack. So, with Shattered Glass Soundwave using this mold, a lot of Transformers fans and collectors are keeping their fingers crossed that Hasbro and Takara might consider re-releasing Netflix Soundwave in another line. Whether or not that will happen remains to be seen. But focusing here on Netflix Soundwave himself, he comes packaged in robot mode. Laserbeak and Ravage are packed in cassette mode. Here we got some artwork of Soundwave here on the side of the box. We got the Decepticon logo here on the top. We've got the Transformers Warrior Cybertron Trilogy Netflix logo here on the side of the box. You've got the poster image for the Transformers Kingdom line. Actually, no, that's the Earthrise line. Yeah, that's Earthrise, sorry. Alright, I just said Soundwave was released during Earthrise, as I apologize for getting that for a moment. But yeah, there's the Netflix version of the Transformers Earthrise. Nice packaging. Instead of all the colors on the standard poster, it's just done with black, white, and red highlights. Coming around here to the back of the box, you've got your product photos. You got Soundwave in his robot mode. You got him in his alternate mode of a cassette player. Here he transforms back and forth between both modes in 19 steps. And then you've got Ravage and Laserbeak. They transform back and forth between their modes. Ravage transforms in 7 steps. Laserbeak transforms in 4 steps. And their alternate modes are cassette tapes that Soundwave can store inside of himself. So yes, that's one of the paradoxes that Soundwave has faced. To this day, Soundwave remains one of the all-time most popular Transformers characters, but because his alt mode originally was a cassette tape player, which is considered obsolete technology today, Hasbro and Takara have constantly reimagined Soundwave's alternate mode and the alternate modes of his minions, such as Laserbeak and Ravage, and that's why the Siege version of Soundwave was given a Cybertronian spaceship for an alternate mode. And yes, it's a nice breath of fresh air to have the Netflix version transform just like his G1 self. So without further delay, let's get Soundwave out of his box and take a close look at him in robot mode. Alright, so here is Netflix, a.k.a. Earthrise Soundwave out of his box, transformed into his robot mode. And oh man, I cannot get over how accurate he is to the original Generation 1 Soundwave figure. He's got the buttons for the cassette player here on his pelvis. Unlike the Generation 1 figure, those are fakes. The actual one ends up on his, well, you know where it ends up. When you transform, that's where it ends up when you transform him into his cassette player mode. And yes, I really enjoy the shade of yellow paint used on the clear plastic on Soundwave's chest. My bedroom lamp on the ceiling is bringing out the light piping in one of Soundwave's eyes. He does have, the light piping is yellow plastic. The same on the Siege version of Soundwave, although Siege Soundwave, the yellow plastic is a much brighter, almost like a lemon clear yellow plastic, whereas on Netflix Soundwave, it's more of like an ember yellowish orange clear plastic. So the eyes on Siege Soundwave light up a lot brighter than they do on Netflix Soundwave, but the head sculpts are the exact same. And I remember some Transformers fans and collectors who wanted a Netflix Soundwave to have very prominent light piping. They swapped the heads between Siege Soundwave and Netflix Soundwave. I believe the shades of blue plastic used on the two figures are the exact same, but I would only advise doing a head swap if you are very careful, because there's no screw to take the back and front halves of Soundwave's head apart, so the only way to remove the head is to pry it off of the ball joint, and there's a risk that if you pull it too hard that it could break. But yeah, I cannot get over the amount of differences and similarities between Netflix Soundwave and Siege Soundwave are pretty spot on. One thing those of you with a keen eye will notice is I do have an upgrade kit here for Siege Soundwave. There's some gap fillers there on his lower arms, and then I have some shoulder extensions right here that allow you to slide his arms back and allow you to transform Siege Soundwave into a cassette player if you wish. I might now that I have Netflix Soundwave, I might put the arm gap filler pieces that I've been using on Siege Soundwave for the last 3 years. I might put them on Netflix Soundwave now. Now, Netflix Soundwave, even though he has parts that are turning yellowish brown, and I might he's replaced Siege Soundwave in being my favorite Voyager class Soundwave figure. But yeah, so differences and similarities between the two. Pretty much it's actually easier to say. You find the parts that are the same on both figures. The feet are the exact same, and the head sculpts are the exact same. The shoulder cannons are the exact same, though one difference is that Siege Soundwave, just like the original Generation 1 Soundwave figure, he's got red stripes on his shoulder cannon, and on Netflix Soundwave, unfortunately, they are unpainted. Same thing with the handheld laser gun. And Siege Soundwave has the G1 as the more G1 accurate laser gun that has the dull red stripes on it, and Netflix Soundwave, his laser gun doesn't have any red stripes, it's unpainted. The third laser gun here, the original Generation 1 Soundwave figure did not have this. Siege Soundwave came with it so that you could connect his shoulder cannon and his blue laser gun together and make a bazooka type weapon. And some Transformers fans just pointed out that due to how it's shaped, if you could plug it onto the back of Siege and Earthrise Megatron, you can create the cannon that Megatron, the gun barrel that Megatron had poking out of the top of one of his shoulders. And on Siege Soundwave, I just store it here inside of his chest. That's where his cassettes would go. The gray laser gun, it's just barely flat enough that it can store inside there. And but yes, I really love the bright school bus yellow used on the frame of Soundwave's chest. It's much more prominent than the gold used on Siege Soundwave, and I believe the hands are the exact same sculpt. The lower arms are the same, and again, Siege Soundwave has the benefit of having red stripes painted on him, and on Netflix Soundwave, the red stripes aren't there. He's unpainted there. So most of the budget on Netflix Soundwave, some of the paint apps that Siege Soundwave came with, they were sacrificed on Netflix Soundwave in favor of all the new sculpted detailing. I'm trying to look at it really fast, and yes, the gray button right here on the top of the shoulder that opens the chest door to allow Soundwave to launch his cassettes, that little gray button is the same size and shape on both versions of Soundwave as well. But apart from those pieces I just mentioned, the accessories, the lower arms from the elbow joint down, actually, even the biceps are the same. So from the arms from the bicep down to the fists, the head sculpts, the weapon accessory pieces, and the robot mode feet, all those parts on both versions of Soundwave are the same. The knee joints, I was about to say they were the same, but no, they're different sculpted parts as well. So yeah, if you were to, the parts I just mentioned if you were to remove the heads, the weapons, the arms from the bicep downward, and the feet, then you'd have two completely different Soundwave figures. So yes, going off that assumption, I want to say between 3/4 to 4/5 of Netflix Soundwave is entirely new sculpting. So if Hasbro and Descartes told me I'd gone the extra mile and had designed a different head sculpt, different weapons, different arms, and different feet, then Netflix Soundwave could have been an entirely brand new mold. But that's it. And I do enjoy the fact that we got a Cybertron mode and an Earth mode version of Soundwave from the same sculpt. So yeah, I won't go into the articulation because if you have Siege Soundwave or even the re-released Legacy Soundwave figure that doesn't have any of the silver battle damage markings that Siege Soundwave comes with, then Netflix Soundwave, the articulation is the same. The new sculpted parts haven't altered any of his articulation. Articulation. I love the fact that because he doesn't transform into the spaceship and he transforms into a cassette player, he looks a lot more like Generation 1 Soundwave, where he's flat in the back, unlike Siege Soundwave, who has these cannons right here, which act as laser guns for his spaceship mode. So that's really nice, but I am a little disappointed that the budget for the new parts took away the paint, some of the painted highlights that were used on Siege Soundwave. I may swap out the laser guns, so Netflix Soundwave has the laser guns with the extra paint apps on, and of course I'm going to put the upgrade kit of the arm fillers. I'm going to take them off Siege Soundwave and put them here on Netflix Soundwave, and in fact I think I'll do that right now on camera for you guys. So here's the upgrade kit itself. Now, if this was I believe made by the third-party upgrade kit designer of Shockwave Lab, they did during the highlight of the Cybertron Trilogy, Shockwave Lab did quite a few upgrade kits that proved very popular and successful. Some of you guys might be asking, why don't you just get another upgrade kit, TFangeek? Well, unfortunately, I do not have the money right now to buy any upgrade kits. That's because I've got a Transformers figure on the way from eBay. I was hoping it would get here before Christmas, but since tomorrow's Christmas Eve day, I doubt it's going to show up tomorrow, but hopefully it'll show up before New Year's, so hopefully I can add it to my list of favorite Transformers figures from 2022. Another part of the upgrade kit that I showed off earlier, you have these shoulder extensions. I may take these off of Siege Soundwave and put them on my Siege Sound Blaster figure, so I can have a Sound Blaster transform into a cassette player now, just like Netflix Soundwave can. And because so far there's no word from Hasbro nor Takara Tomy about doing another Voyager class figure of Sound Blaster. So yeah, there's a Netflix Soundwave with his arms not hollowed out, so that's pretty nice to see. Now, before we get into transforming Soundwave, let's take a close look first at Laserbeak and Ravage. So, starting off here with Laserbeak, if you have the Siege Micromaster version of Laserbeak, the main difference is the paint job is meant to look a lot more closer to the figures that made up Generation 1 Laserbeak's each surface, and yeah, I'm pretty impressed with how it came out. And here for a size comparison is Siege Laserbeak, and pretty much the main difference is that some of the striped parts on the Siege version of Laserbeak that were silver, they're now gold and blue on the Netflix Laserbeak. There is some different sculpted detailing here. One main difference is that the backpack section, the part that becomes the backpack in robot mode, it's slightly smaller on the Netflix Laserbeak, so unfortunately you do have these two gaps right up here on the top, whereas Siege Laserbeak is almost entirely square there, but that's pretty much the main difference in cassette mode, is that one different sculpted part art in the paint job. So getting both versions of Laserbeak transformed, you just rotate out the wings, flip down the feet, and then you I did it backwards. You flip out the head, and then you get this part reattached, flip that up. And there is Netflix Laserbeak transformed into his robot mode. Really fast. Let's get Siege Laserbeak transformed. And the most difficult part is getting the heads out, because you have to rotate the head out first to get the back section transformed out. Alright, and here is Netflix Laserbeak. He's a very nice. I love how he's accurate to his G1 animation model from the G1 cartoon. They even managed to squeeze the Decepticon logo on his head, just like the Generation 1 figure. I love how they were able to make a Decepticon logo that small. Oh, and here is Netflix Laserbeak next to Siege Laserbeak. So as you can see, before arriving on planet Earth, Laserbeak and Soundwave's cassettes, they had screens instead of actual eyeballs on their heads. And that is accurate to Laserbeak's animation model in the G1 cartoon made by some Unbo Productions. Laserbeak was the only cassette who was shown in his Cybertronian mode in the G1 cartoon. But yeah, he did have a screen in for a face before arriving on Earth when Teletran 1 upgraded him to look more like a bird of prey with actual eyeballs on his face. So I love that difference between the Cybertron and Earth mode versions of Laserbeak. So yeah, the only new sculpted part is the backpack, which is the supposed to be the shoulder cannons or back cannons that Laserbeak fires at his Autobot enemies. Another difference is that I was about to say the shades of red plastic are different, but no, they're not. They're the exact same. If there is a difference, I honestly can't tell what it is. But yeah, there's a Netflix Laserbeak next to Siege Laserbeak. And next up, we'll take a look at Ravage, who I just dropped on the floor. Ravage doesn't want to cooperate. Right, but yeah, here is Ravage in his cassette mode. I apologize if I'm holding Ravage upside down. I don't know in cassette mode which is supposed to be right side up and which is supposed to be upside down. But yeah, here's a Netflix Ravage next to Siege Ravage. And again, the paint detailing here is it's reminiscent of the stickers that Generation 1 Ravage had that made him look like an actual cassette tape, and I love how they were able to mimic the appearance of a cassette tape here on Netflix Ravage. Siege Ravage, he just had more of like a generic paint job that just matched up his body parts formed into a rectangle. But so yeah, Netflix Ravage does a fantastic job of looking like a cassette tape you'd find on Earth. And I apologize, I was holding Ravage upside down. This is supposed to be him right side up with this part facing downward because he has the word Japan and written on him right there. So that's here. So I apologize for holding Ravage upside down like that. And there's a Decepticon logo right there, and you got a sticker right there. I believe that's just a generic sticker that cassette tapes had at the time. It's been years since I've seen cassette tapes. Cassette tapes still were around when I was a kid in the 90s, but by the end of the decade, cassette tapes were replaced with CDs, and then the decade after, in the 2000s, CDs were replaced with iPods and iPads, and now today people just listen to music on their cell phones and smartphones. So music technology, cassette tapes, they are definitely an obsolete form of technology that people don't really use anymore to listen to music, unless of course they're collectors who listen to collect vintage cassette tapes and cassette tape players from the 80s and 90s. But yeah, there is a Ravage in his cassette mode. Unlike Laserbeak, I am going to pause the video for Ravage here because he's a little more complex to transform. Well, some things really are too good to be true. This is a real damper. Fresh out of the box, my new copy of Netflix Ravage is missing a leg. And yeah, that is highly disappointing. The seller on eBay, when they listed Netflix Soundwave, said that the set was complete, that it was brand new, unopened, there was nothing inside, so this was a defect at the factory. How in the world they got this? They missed this, I honestly cannot say, so I may have to get, I believe the Jaguar legs are, they're the exact same size and shape on both Siege and Netflix Ravage, so I may have to do a leg swap between both these figures, or I may just keep using Siege Ravage instead of Netflix Ravage, with Ravage partnered, have him partnered with my Netflix Soundwave. Pretty much the only scope, unlike Laserbeak, looking at the sculpt detailing, I believe, yeah, the only difference between, unlike Laserbeak, who had unlike Laserbeak, who had both a new head sculpt and a new back cannon, the only difference between Siege Ravage and Netflix Ravage is that Siege Ravage, his mouth is shut, but on Netflix Ravage, his mouth is open and it looks like he's either snarling or growling at something. But yeah, everything else is the same. The only difference is the paint job. So yeah, I might just have to swap out the legs between both these figures, see if I can without breaking any of the pegs, or either that, or I find a replacement Ravage figure. But yeah, that's disappointing to see Ravage missing a leg out of the box. I just looked around at my floor. I took the packaging out of the box again just to see if maybe it might have fallen off in there, but no, I don't see any sign of it anywhere. So yeah, that was a defect at the factory. So how in the world a QC issue like that, where a part wasn't even applied at the factory, got through, I honestly cannot say. But yeah, that is very discouraging to see Ravage missing a leg like that. So unfortunately, Ravage has now become my least favorite of the three figures you get in this set, due to missing that part. So, with that out of the way, let's take a look at Soundwave again, transformed into his alt mode, and we'll wrap up the review. Alright, and so before we continue, I have to admit, I haven't really taken out Siege Soundwave, nor Ravage or Laserbeak, Eek at all in recent times. So, just to see what Netflix Ravage looks like with all four legs, I did pop off one of Siege Ravage's eggs. This is the one this is the leg that came off of Siege Ravage, and so thankfully, because the only difference between both, the only new sculpted part that's new between both figures is the robot mode head, and the legs do fit nicely. Netflix Ravage's legs, they are a slightly brighter shade of gray plastic than Netflix Ravage. It's not as prominent as my camera is making it out to be, but you can see the difference once you have it in hand. And so I may swap out the other front legs just to have it match. I won't do the back legs because I don't see a need for them as long as they match up with each other. So yeah, it is a somber note to know that this version of Netflix Ravage came with a leg missing. Alright, so here is Netflix Soundwave transformed into his alt mode of a cassette player, and I am thrilled with how this guy turned out. I love the bright shade of blue that's used on the bright shade of blue paint used here on these parts of Soundwave here. On this side, he's got the actual record battery right there. And I just really love that. He's got the word play sculpted in on the play button. He's got the arrow sculpted in for the fast forward and rewind buttons. And you've also got the pause and record buttons. Pause and stop buttons sculpted on there as well. I believe pause is supposed to be the button with the square on it, and stop is the one with the circle. But yeah, I'm really thrilled with how Soundwave came out. When Netflix Soundwave was released, a lot of Transformers fans and collectors said that transforming him felt like a miniature. They were transforming a miniaturized version of his masterpiece figure, and I'm inclined to agree with how he turned out. Now, this is one of the paradoxes that's always been around Soundwave, is that when you get him transformed into cassette player mode, what you see is what you get. He's basically a plastic rectangle, and he doesn't do anything other than look good. So, as far as play values go, back in the 1980s, Soundwave was all the rage, with cassette players being the top technology to listen to music back in 1984. But today, Transformers fans and collectors who aren't familiar with what a cassette player is or what cassette tapes are, they might find Soundwave's alt mode of a cassette player a little lackluster and boring, being a plastic rectangle angle. But for those who are aware of what cassette players and cassette tapes are, the nostalgia for that for that technology of listening to music will make a Netflix Soundwave a pretty and fantastic Transformers figure to have. So you open the button and you open up Soundwave's robot mode chest, and you can fit cassette tapes inside. I love it's kind of hard to see because it's blue soldering right there, but you can see all the intricacy that went there into cassette tapes. Now, just like Siege Soundwave, it's a very tight fit getting an actual cassette tape to sit in there, and even tighter when you try to close the chest door with a cassette tape inside. So I'm not going to do it just because of the risk of breaking it or the chest door getting stuck, but it is nice to have that play feature there on Netflix Soundwave. The only real place to store his weapons in cassette player mode is to just have them stored here on the back. On the original Generation 1 Soundwave figure, the way he transformed the Siege Soundwave figure looks a lot closer to it. The center of the back section opened up, and then Soundwave's shoulder cannon and his laser gun, they could actually become a set of AA batteries, and that's why they're cylinder shape. Is that you could fit them inside Soundwave's back, and they become a pair of AA batteries for him. So thanks to these shoulder extension pieces, which are these silver parts right here from Matrix Workshop, you can slide the arms back, and this is what Siege Soundwave looks like transformed into a cassette player. So until Netflix Soundwave was released, this was the closest that Transformers fans and collectors could have to transforming Siege Soundwave into cassette player. And unfortunately, without Matrix, the upgrade kit when the shoulder extensions, this is what Siege Soundwave looks like transformed into cassette tape, because the arms, without the shoulder extensions, the arms prevent the legs from folding back any farther. It's somewhat similar to the cassette player you can make with a Siege Sound Blaster without an upgrade kit. I'm debating with myself if I'm going to take off the shoulder extensions from Siege Soundwave and put them on Siege Sound Blaster just to see what he looks like as a cassette player. Again, there's been no announcement whatsoever from Hasbro and Tomy on taking the Netflix Soundwave figure here and repainting and retooling it into Sound Blaster, but many Transformers fans and collectors have said that they would be more than willing to buy a Sound Blaster repaint / retool from the Netflix Soundwave figure. So it is pretty impressive to see that there. And of course, one thing you can do if you desire, you can also take Ravage and Laserbeak. I apologize for not showing this off when I had Soundwave transformed into his robot mode, but there's 5mm ports underneath Ravage and Laserbeak. And what Soundwave can do with them in robot mode is they can just go from a cassette tape to doubling as a shield. And yes, here on Ravage, I did do a leg swap between him and Siege Ravage, so he's quote-unquote fixed. But if you don't want Sound Laserbeak and Ravage to be separated from Soundwave, just flip out these 5mm ports behind them, and then Ravage and Laserbeak can plug here on the back of Netflix Soundwave if you desire, using the 5mm egg holes on the back of Soundwave's lower arms. So yeah, there is storage for everything you get with Netflix Soundwave, including Ravage and Laserbeak if you don't want to include both of them, if you want to leave Soundwave's chest empty. But yeah, it does fill the gap more, and it does make him even more boxy than he is without Laserbeak and Ravage attached at the end. Alright, and just to end off the video for one last special size comparison, here is Netflix Soundwave one more time next to Siege Soundwave. So yes, this is Siege Soundwave transformed into the Cybertron alt mode that Soundwave had in the G1 in the Generation 1 cartoon, he was a lamppost. Now I know this isn't the actual lamppost mode for the Siege Soundwave figure where it has the arms folded inside, but believe it or not, this is how Soundwave, this is what his lamppost mode looked like in the G1 cartoon. He had his arms out to the side, and so he was in kind of like a half lamppost, half scarecrow position. But yeah, there is a one last size comparison between Netflix Soundwave and Siege Soundwave. So this is what Soundwave transformed into when he was on Cybertron, and this is what he transformed into after he came to Earth. Amazes me how Soundwave's alternate modes, no matter what planet he's on, try to mimic geometric shapes. I always found that entertaining. And I think, yeah, I had the lamppost legs facing the wrong way. So if having them facing this direction, you can get Soundwave to stand up while he's the top half of him is angled downward. But yeah, I'm really happy to finally have Netflix Soundwave in my Transformers collection. Was a bit of a bump there with Ravage missing a leg, but thankfully I could just have a Siege Ravage do a leg transplant. But yes, thank you guys all so much for watching, and this has been. It took 2 years, but I was able to finally add Transformers Netflix Soundwave to my Transformers collection. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Thank you to my subscribers for your continued support. And until next time, you guys, stay safe, stay healthy. Hopefully, I'll get back to reviewing Legacy figures now that Netflix Soundwave is out of the way. So thank you guys all so much. And until next time, you guys, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.